This year's a perfect year for us. Thanks to a major winter storm in February, we get to celebrate Valentine's Day for a second time. Since this is the month of June's first Thursday, our proceedings will be primarily in English, with enough Latvian interspersed to keep you either on your toes a bit or even more confused. With his signature wit, pianist Pēteris Zariņš and his accomplice, Leslie Higgins, will weave the history of Valentine's Day with romantic masterpieces by Chopin, of course, Wells, Brāmsa and Klaras Šūmanes, alongside modernist and neo-romantic works by Geršvina, Manuela Ponsa, Alvila Altmaņa, and Imanta Zemzara. The program will also include the unique, bemused, and amusing perspective in songs about love and romance by French singer-songwriter Serža Geinsbūra and American roots artist Stīva Ērla. First of all, about Pēteris Zariņš. While he's on the faculty of the Taylor Academy, Oscar Peterson School of Music, he's also an examiner. He specializes in theory and history and piano. He's a respected studio teacher and an instructor of piano pedagogy, music history at the Oscar Peterson School of Music, as well as the Phil and Eli Taylor Performance Academy for Young Artists and the Glenn Gould School. He's a frequent adjudicator, clinician, and lecturer, and performs regularly as both a soloist and collaborative artist. He's a senior examiner for the Royal Conservator's Certificate Program and has also served as a chief examiner, training and development for the Royal Conservatory, as well as chair of the theory department at the Oscar Peterson School of Music. And he's a program specialist for the certificate program in the US. Quite a mouthful. Mr. Zariņš is, besides all that musical stuff, he's a co-author of the 3-volume music history series, Explorations. Now, about Leslie Higgins. She's an Uxbridge-born dynamic soprano, currently based in Toronto. She completed her Bachelor of Music and Voice Performance at Western University in 2020, and her Master's in Vocal Performance at the U of T in 2022. She, interestingly, discovered her passion for classical music while singing in a choir, starting in grade 1. Okay, yeah, that goes back a few years, and is an active member of Toronto's vibrant choral scene, having performed professionally with many choirs, including Chorus Niagara, the Orpheus Choir, and the Elora Singers. She owes many of her musical roots to the Uxbridge arts community. She also loves the stage and has performed in 18 musical and opera productions, many of which were with the Uxbridge Youth Theatre. Her favorite roles included Becky in A Little Princess, Rizzo in Grease, Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins, of course, and Joanna in Sweeney Todd. She has a full-time administrative job at the Royal Conservatory of Music and is a passionate teacher with over 12 private vocal students. Now let's all sit back and think dreamily of warm romantic thoughts as we enjoy today's concert. It's all yours.
As we're getting the mic set up, I'll just speak in my outside voice. I was asked to do a lecture back in Lincoln. Okay, yeah, all right. Hello. So I was asked to provide a lecture on and performance on Valentine's Day music, and I had it all prepared pretty much back in November, and I thought, something's missing here, So something about Valentine's Day, we need a voice. So I went to my colleague Leslie and I said, would you like to come and share a gig with me up at the Latvian Pensioners Society? It's Valentine's Day, it's all fun and low key. So we're fortunate that she agreed to be, as I said, as we said, an accomplice for this. So we'll hear from her momentarily and at the tail end of the show. So logically, if it's romance and it's the piano, it's got to be Chopin. I mean, they're inextricably linked, right? And Chopin shows various loves and passions and disappointments and heartbreak and maybe a rainbow at the end of the blues as well in his music. So we're going to hear actually, for openers, a sampling of his art. And notice the gorgeous melodies based on his love of opera. Yeah, that was his first love. He didn't write any operas, but his nocturnes are his operas. He didn't write any art songs except for a few in the Polish language, but in his etudes, he has art songs. He had a disastrous love life. His first fiancee's parents decided, he's just a piano player. So that was it for that romance. then he falls in love with a woman 10 years older than himself. Not that that's a bad thing. It works for our French prime minister, right? So, but at the time, Georges Sand was a very complicated individual. So that romance lasted about a year, and then they were best friends for about 10 years, and then suddenly, poof, she didn't even go to his funeral. So, so Chopin, we can feel his pain in his music. We can feel his love and his affection. So just a quick smattering from Chopin. We could do Chopin all afternoon, and we wouldn't run out of gorgeous melodies, those harmonies, just one note changing such wit. We heard a bit of the mazurka where he's feeling the passion for his homeland and being an exile, a political exile from Poland. So all these emotions run through his music. Anyhow, to our main topic of Valentine's Day, and obviously our gentlemen singers there paved the way for this. So thank you so much for setting up the topics here. So Valentine's Day, I mean, it's a fine day for recent loves and longtime lovers. It's a great day for the Hallmark Card Company. It's a great day for FTD, a great day for Veuve Clicquot Champagne. Not so good for cheapskates and recent breakups. So how did all this start before commerce took over? And to get an idea of the commerce of this, I need my readers. In 2024, 145 million cards were sent. Think about that. $64 billion was spent on jewelry. That's staggering. Didn't come from me, but anyway, $64 billion on jewelry. Esther Howland, back in 1849 in Worcester, Massachusetts, began the whole craze of cards, and then the Hall brothers took over in 1913 and 1916, becoming the Hallmark Company. But where did this come from? And before this commercial craze, I guess one word can describe the history of Valentine's Day, and that is the word sordid. It comes from the Roman cleansing ritual of Februa, which by the way gives us the name of February, and it evolved into this pagan festival called Lupercalia. So what took place at this festival around the 14th and 15th of February? Well, goats, dogs were sacrificed, young men ran through the streets with blood-soaked hide strips, striking women to guarantee fertility. Yikes. That's Valentine's Day. Lupercalia comes from the word lupus, Latin for wolf, the legend being that Romulus and Remus, the founders of Rome, were raised by a she-wolf. So, that's not so great. Who was Valentine? Also, unfortunately, not such a beautiful history. Saint Valentine of Terni was jailed by Emperor Claudius around 278, and before his execution, he wrote a letter to Julie, the daughter of his jailer Arterius, and it was signed, "Your Valentine." So there was her first card, and then he was killed. In 404, Pope Gelasius declared February 14th the feast day of St. Valentine. Now, in those days, Valentine didn't have that connection to the whole world of love and stuff that only came about 100 years later. But we Catholics, we like our feast days. You know, we like every day is a saint day, sort of like we have Vardinians in Latvia. We Catholics, we have patron saints of everything, even patron saints of quality footwear. You know, we even have that. So let's have Leslie save us from all these anecdotes now, and if you could come and join me on stage, it'd be great.
Yeah, things falling over. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak? When you open it to speak, are you smart? But don't change a hair for me, no. care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak when you open it to speak? Are you smart? But don't change a hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. There's a saying old, says that love is blind. Still we're often told, seek and ye shall find. So I'm gonna seek a certain lad I've had in mind. Looking everywhere, haven't found him yet. He's the big affair I cannot forget. Only man I'll ever think of with regret. I'd like to add his initials to my monogram. Tell me, where is the shepherd for this lost lamb? There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that he turns out to be someone to watch over me. I'm a little lamb who's lost in the wood. I know I could always be good. Won't you tell him please to put on some speed? Follow my lead. Oh, how I need someone to watch over me. Thank you.
Leslie will return at the tail end of our program today. And so just a few other wonderful Valentine's Day facts, anecdotes. Oops, I do need my readers. Not used to this. Reading glasses in here. All right, so we actually have a graphic. If you can get to the next slide, we do have our program listed there. Okay, so this is what we've heard so far. Now, the Baltics are always considered stoic people, but my goodness, Latvian music is filled with romantic sentiment. I mean, look at the songs we heard earlier today. We have the lyricism of Vitos and Medinš, to the recent soundtrack of Strāme Flow, the Oscar winner from Gilts Zilbalodis and Richard Zaluk, a beautiful post-romantic music there. The Ritmanis sisters, I mean, there's so many countless schlagers that are wonderful as well. And I've often shared the romantic music with your wonderful group, but I have not played two composers for you yet, officially, and they are Alvila Altmaņa, a younger composer, and you'll notice that he writes in very much a post-Chopin vein, and Imanta Zemzara, who's a terrific composer, veteran of writing for the stage and for the films as well as for solo and for choirs, so wonderful composer. And the name of his little work, these are miniature works, is Blaumaņa Gads from Zemzars, the year of the great poet. And in fact, he quotes at the end a song by Emīls Dārziņš, the esteemed composer of vocal music especially, Vēl tu rozas plūs. So you may recognize this quotation at the end of this little duo that he calls a diptych. So first of all, two little pieces from Alvila Altmaņa. Sorry, just a little bit of housekeeping here. So if we could move the slide to the next one, please. Thank you. There are always interesting perspectives on the whole business of love. And Serža Geinsbūra is considered one of the great French romantic chanson composers. But I'm always wondering about his own perspective, and I wanted to share some interesting quotations from him. We'll watch a little bit of this video if we can cue that up, if that's possible. And you're never quite sure of what his perspective on love is. Is it a positive one? Is it a negative one? So it's kind of an interesting, well, shall I say, a curious blend of things. So what is he saying here? He says, I love you, then he says, me neither. What? I don't get it. Another lovely lyric from him, Boomerang, I search in vain for the exit door. I love you and fear of going astray. Love without philosophy is like coffee, quickly passed. We grew tired of coffee and it was over. Life is not worth living without love. But you're the one who wanted it that way, my love. Wow. So search out Serge, wonderful perspective. And he apparently is the sexiest Frenchman who ever lived, so, you know, you can definitely watch it. So if we could go to the next video, not everybody is quite as successful in expressing themselves on Valentine's Day. Poor Steve. He not only forgot to buy the present, but he forgot to mail the card, too. Very, very charming song. So, you know, poor Steve had a bad day, but Valentine's Day hasn't always been positive. And I'll just give you two pretty strong examples of that. In 1929, Al Capone sent a Valentine's Day greeting to his rival Bugs Moran and ended up shooting 7 of Bugs' henchmen and establishing himself as the head honcho in the Chicago underworld. In 2000, and what's my date here? Let me get this straight as well. Here we are. Another not-so-great Valentine's Day happened in 2013 when Olympic athlete Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius shot his girlfriend to death on Valentine's Day, claiming that he thought it was an intruder in the house. Okay, and that led to the Valentine's Day card that falls in the tradition of vinegar cards that were invented in the 19th century in England, where they were insulting cards, actually. You would send them to your rivals or your exes, and so there's some classics that you can view online. But this particular card was, roses are red, violets are glorious. Valentine's Day, roses are red, Valentine's Day is glorious, unless you're the girlfriend of Oscar Pistorius. So, I know, that's terrible. But let's go to the very first Valentine's Day poem on record. It took a while for all this to manifest itself, and it took Geoffrey Chaucer in 1382 to give us our first direct reference to Valentine's Day in a poem that we know of. And in Old English he wrote, "For though was saint on Valentine's Day, when every fowl cometh there to chase his mate." In other words, on Valentine's Day, birds choose their mates in February. In 1400, not to be outdone, Charles VI of France declared a charter declaring that there'd be a court of love that convenes in February of each year. Not sure what their edicts were. The oldest Valentine's Day card, apart from the letter that Valentine, the bishop, sent his jailer's daughter, we have on record from Charles, the Duke of Orleans, who was imprisoned in the Tower of London in 1415. He wrote to Bonne of Armagnac the following. Apologies to our retired French teachers in the room here, because my French is pretty terrible. Je suis déjà d'amour terné, ma très douce Valentine. So, in other words, I am so sick of love, My Sweet Valentine. Unfortunately, she died before receiving the words, and not to be outdone, the British dispatched Charles, the Duke of Orleans, as well. So, a couple more quotes before we get to some more music. Shakespeare in Hamlet, 1600, Ophelia sings to the king. Tomorrow is St. Valentine's Day. All in the morning be time, and I, a maid at your window, to be your Valentine. So see, we have all these wonderful histories of cards, and the flower tradition dates actually way back to the Hebrew Bible and florography, in which certain flowers had certain symbols of affection. And there's wonderful catalogs you can look up as far as that goes. So that tradition has been here. And the person most responsible for that in 1700, King Charles of Sweden, was the one who initiated this mass sending of floral greetings. Maybe he had shares in FTD, I'm not sure. But okay, so back to some romantic music. And our task for the remainder of the afternoon is to pick out what is the most romantic work. I mean, we heard that Chopin Etude, that's hard to top, right? We heard Someone to Watch Over Me, hard to top that. But let's see if we can top those. So imagine yourselves, you're on the Mexican Riviera. It's a beautiful sunset. You've got Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek bringing you mojitos and tequila sunrises. And somewhere off in the distance, there's a guitar playing, and there's a beautiful balladeer, Majo, and he's trying to attract a Maja with this beautiful piece.
Well, that one.
Now I'm good. Yeah, that one will be hard to beat. We'll see. It's called an intermezzo, which means just a space in time, and Brahms called his piece also, the next one we're hearing. If we could send to the next slide, please. Great. So we heard something from the Mexican composer Manuela Ponsa from back in 1909, and we're going to hear another intermezzo from Brahms. Now, the story of Robert Schumann, Clara Schumann, Clara Schumann, Johannes Brahms, I mean, it's made for Netflix. It could be a long TV series. I mean, it has all the trappings of an incredible story, and if you wrote it, it would be almost hard to believe. We have a child prodigy. We have a child prodigy who falls in love with her teenage mentor, and then they fall in love with each other, and they have this forbidden teenage love with parents trying desperately to block their relationship, understandably so, actually. We have then finally a marriage that takes place, and it seemed like a happy marriage with 7 children, but then it becomes fraught with tension and professional jealousy and mental health illnesses and suicide attempts, and a visiting musician who ends up living in the same household. And when Robert Schumann passes away, that same musician, Johannes Brahms, has a decision to make. Does he stay with the grieving widow and be a stepfather to the children, or does he go back to northern Germany? And he thought for the optics it might be better. But that's only the beginning of this, Crave Netflix story. There's another 40 years to go. And there's mysteries to this day as to the relationship between Johannes and Clara. Was it romantic? Well, there's no doubt it was romantic. Was it physical? Hard to know. And there were some interruptions, such as a small detail like Johannes getting engaged to Clara's daughter temporarily. Maybe it raised a few eyebrows, but then Julie dropped Johannes, and Johannes wrote a wedding present piece called The Alto Rhapsody about the futility of love and relationships, which Clara was really furious about, didn't speak to Johannes for about a month. Julie said, well, that's just Johannes being Johannes. And Johannes could certainly be Johannes. He said, maybe you know people like this. If he liked you, he'd insult you, or he'd tease you. If he didn't like you, he'd ignore you. He wouldn't even talk to you. And 2 quick Brahms anecdotes. He said the following this relationship with Julie's downfall. He said, my failure to fully communicate with women has saved me from marriage and opera. And if he would leave a party, he'd always say the following: if there's anyone here I've forgotten to offend, I apologize. Anyhow, he and Clara died a year apart. Clara lived till 1896. Brahms' last great work were 4 serious songs dedicated to Clara. He knew she was terminally ill at the time that he was writing this piece, and he passed a year after that. So just an amazing story. So we're going to hear from Johannes, and then Leslie's going to join me again to present a gorgeous piece by Clara Schumann, which we'll give you a quick introduction to. So this is the only long piece I'm playing today. It's not even that long.
Oh, now it's on. Hi. So yeah, as Pete mentioned, this next piece is by Klaras Šūmanes, and it's in German. And I wanted to read you the poem because it's a beautiful love poem, and it's just nice to know, to understand some of the words that I'll be saying when I sing. Okay, so the poem is called "If You Love for Beauty." If you love for beauty, then do not love me. Love the sun with its golden hair. If you love for youth, then do not love me. Love the spring, which is young every year. If you love for treasure, then do not love me. Love the mermaid who has shining pearls. If you love for love, then oh, love me. Love me always, and I will always love you. Liebst du Schönheit, und ich mich lebe, lebe die Sonne, sie trägt ein goldenes Haar. Liebst du Jugend, und ich mich lebe, lebe den Frühling. Der Jung ist jedes Jahr. Liebst du Schatze, und ich mich lebe, lebe die Meerfrau, sie hat vier Perlen klar. Liebst du Liebe, oh ja, mich lebe. Liebst du Liebe, oh ja, mich lebe, lebe mich immer durch, leb ich
Well, it's lovely.
As lovely as those pieces were, I think this is the winner. If there is a more romantic and beautiful song than this, I haven't heard it, at least not in the German language. And so we won't translate it. It's basically morgen, tomorrow the sun will shine and glow for us for eternity. But the backstory is so cool. Richard Strauss, who was kind of a gruff, he looked more like a corporate banker than a music composer. But he had a sentimental side, and he gave this work as a wedding present to his wife, who happened to be a soprano.
Okay, we have one little surprise. Leslie does know some Latin.
That's a stretch.
So we have a song in the tradition of the famous Latvian songwriter, performer more than songwriter, Elvis Presley.
Okay, that's better, okay. No. Es to teicu, ka vienmēr tevi mīlēšu. Un vaicāju, vai tu arī to jūti? Bet vienīgā atbilde, ko tu man devi, bija
Varbūt. 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 Varbūt.
Nu, man tiešām, man sirds skaldīgi lūst. Negribu vientuļs kļūt. Man dzīve būs tik grūta. Ja tu vienīgi saki to vārdu,
Varbūt.
varat dziedāt līdz.
Thank you.
Mīs paldies. Many, many thanks. Now that we're all dreamy and mushy and stuff like that, it's time to say thank you very much, and until next time.
It happened again.
Liels paldies.